Before I introduce our own guest speaker, I want to remember the words of Cornel West, an African-American theologian, but also a social justice activist, who says, one of the greater gifts that you can give to people is to give them the inspiration to constantly endeavor to become the best that they are purposed to be. And today, colleagues, we have amongst us Mr. Thembekile Mrototo as the guest, and the media industry took note of him after his speedy success as a broadcaster. Before getting into the industry, Mrototo was a pupil at Castlebridge Combined School, where he matriculated in 2010. He studied at the University of the Free State, so he's a part Kofsi, and later transferred to the University of Johannesburg, where to continue his studies. Starting out in community radio, he is currently recognized as a broadcast journalist working as news anchor for Johannesburg-based radio station 947 and a freelance anchor for news channel at ENCA. I now would like to call him upon to the podium to share his insights with us. You're welcome to the podium, sir.
Here we go again. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Professor Peterson, Me Linkabula, and the rest of the academic staff here at the University of the Free State, thank you, firstly, for extending this invitation to me, to the family, the friends, the guardians, and everyone who's here to witness this beautiful day. Good afternoon and welcome. To you, the people who today is all about, the graduates, give yourselves a round of applause. You have made it to this day. You've made it because, I'm sure as many of you would know, you are a special bunch, because when you started 3-4 years ago, the numbers were larger than this. Many have fallen along the way, not by their choosing, for various reasons and circumstances. Some of you at some point did not think that you'd be here today, yet here you are. Congratulations. So when I was asked to come and speak here today, the first thing I thought is, so what do I share? Do I go onto YouTube and just plagiarize an Oprah Winfrey address? Do I steal the famous Steve Jobs speech? But I'm a procrastinator, so that always means that I never quite get to transcribing those sort of things in full. So I figured what I would do here today is share with you today part of my journey, having walked these same grounds on this campus. I've sat in this very room for some of my exams. Let me take you back a bit. As you heard, my name is Thembekile Mrototo, radio and television broadcaster with 947. That's a radio station based in Johannesburg. I'm going to punt it now before I forget, so do tune in to 947. Every morning between 6 and 9, it's the 947 Breakfast Club. We're very funny. And you listening also means I'm employed. Okay, great. Oh, have you seen the jobs numbers? You gotta keep me employed. And I'm also with ENCA, the biggest 24-hour news channel in this country, all the way from Bloem. Here I am today. But my journey started, my higher education journey, let's say, started in 2011. That's when I first set foot on this campus as a journalism student. Like many of you, I had Com 114, Com 124. You guys know non-verbal com. I have eaten at the deli, those gigantic chicken portions, all in this system. And it is an honor to stand before you today. So let's take you back. The year is 2010. I am in grade 12 at Castlebridge Combined School, not too far from the National Hospital. You might know where it is. I apply to come and study at the University of the Free State. Like many of you might have done, I apply not knowing how I'm going to pay for this next chapter of my life. But anyway, as one does, you take a leap of faith, you apply and hope it works out. So I apply, I come on here, I get my student card and everything. I'm doing this degree, media and journalism. My mother has no idea what it is, but she's like, you know what? It's a dream, it's a thing you want to do. If it can get you to move out of my house and pay your own rent, we all win. So I begin studying here. This studying thing is fun. People had said it was going to be tough. I enjoy the studying thing, on we go, but there's one main concern. As a BA student, funding is not the easiest thing to find, because everyone is funding engineering, everyone is funding the law students, the med students. So fast forward to 2012, around March, my studies come to an abrupt end. Why? You know the system, financial exclusion, because I could not pay to go on, right? It's a tough period, I knew it was coming, but still, nothing quite prepares you for that knock, especially when you enjoy education and learning as I did. But doesn't matter, I continue with my life. At this point, I'm already involved in broadcasting in the sense that I was with Motero FM, the Bloemfontein-based community radio station. Who here knows Motero FM? Oh, come on, don't be so coy. You can scream louder than that. Those of you who remember me from those days would admit, though, it was better when we were on, eh? My generation was the best. But anyway, on we go with this journey. I am now a university dropout, in a sense, in 2012, and I'm thinking, what are you going to do? The dream is to be on people's TVs. The dream is to be the voice that people hear on the radio. So I continue with Motero FM. In between that, Prof, by the way, I still visit your campus because I had two friends who used to study here, and back then you guys didn't have the checks at the gate, so I would just sneak in. Imagine if I was robbing people. So I'd come in, chill at the student center, the daily kept bringing me back. The food was cheap and amazing. So we do all of that, and I'm thinking, how best do I do this? This story goes on. I'm still at Motero FM. I've now graduated from doing just the news with people like Leila, the Bangis of this world. So I decided, beginning of 2013, again, another leap of faith, I'm now going to apply to transfer to Johannesburg, the University of Johannesburg, where I'm finally hoping to complete this journalism degree, right? Because that was the promise. Fine, off we go, we apply. Application fee, never a problem. The university writes back, they say, you've been accepted, come through and study, right? Okay, fantastic. Here's the problem. Your brother doesn't have registration money. I don't have rent money, and I'm away from home. But this thing is going to work. So my mother and I raised a couple of R1,000. I remember a good friend of mine, Leila, contributed 1,500 rand to this fund, the Get Thembekile to Joburg fund. So January 2014 comes, I go to UJ, I register and do all of that. Great story, we all go along. Now I must raise money to live in a commune. I find a cute little commune in West Dean, Johannesburg. There were 7 of us officially, but the cockroaches, I think, may have brought those numbers up to 30. We survived. So off we go. Again, now, I'm trying to find a solution to this money thing that seems to follow me everywhere, right? So one day, I am lazing around in the computer labs, as many of you have done. Come on, own it. We've all done it, where you sit there aimlessly while people work on their assignments. And I end up on the Eyewitness News page. I'm reading articles, but at the bottom I find a section about comments, queries, and questions to the editor. It's a generic email. I work in the newsroom, so I can tell you we never reply to the stuff you send to that email, so don't bother, no one's reading it. But anyway, so I mail, I'm like, hi, my name is Thembekile, 22-year-old from Bloem. I worked at Motero FM for X number of years. I would really like an internship in your newsroom, you know, just to learn how people do in the big city. Guys, a week passes. I'm like, ooh, shame, they didn't read it. Crisis. At this point, I'm even saying their station is rubbish anyway, so I don't listen. Forget them. they write back eventually, and the email that comes back to me says, we don't have internships for you. No internship positions available at the moment, but what we do have is the position for an overnight freelance news reader. This is on weekends. You're nodding because it sounds amazing. Let me tell you about overnight news anchoring. You come in at 7 and you leave at 5 the next morning. You read the news every hour, when literally the only people who are listening is yourself and the security guards. They didn't tell me that in the interview, so off I go to the interview, get the job, nail it, go back home, right? I've not told anyone in Bloem that this thing is happening. Go on Facebook, there's a big reveal. I'm getting this job. What I don't tell people, Prof, is this. Now with this job, guess what the rate was? Because you think it's glamorous, right? I made 750 Rand a shift. And I was sharing this job with 2 other people, alternating weekends. So after SARS has taken their 25%, you actually just broke. You want to march on the union buildings, but I'm lazy, so it never got to that point. So off we go. I start doing this overnight thing. Eventually, I move my way up at Prime Media, EWN. I start doing some of the weekend daytime shifts. Eventually, I do weekday evenings. Now, this is big. My mother still has no clue what this 702 is in Johannesburg, right? But I'm working. I'm now able to send some money home, so I'm a blesser. I've arrived. See, the neighbors are thinking he's going to buy a GTI. It's all going to be great. Bri's on me. But still, it is tough, because through all of this, I'm still dealing with this thing where I need to go back and complete this degree. But now I'm in a catch-22. Do I quit school, go back and study, or do I keep this job and find a way to study? Because I'm sure as many of you can identify, when you come from poverty, often the choices are such that you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. It's literally decisions that you make for survival, which is very difficult to do. It's a difficult thing to go through when you are just a 22-year-old trying to find your way in the world. But it's fine, so I move on. Again, the spirit of emails hits me. I love an email. Now I've decided I want to be on TV. Off I go. I mail a lady by the name of Sally Burdett. She is, if you watch news on ETV, I'm sure you've seen her read the news. Sally now also happens to be the head of anchors at ENCA. What does Thembekile, who hasn't got a degree yet, do? As if I don't have enough on my plate. I now write to Sally to say, hi, this is me. You've probably never heard of me. I would like to try this TV thing. Sally writes back, trying to dismiss me clearly, says, do you have TV experience? I quickly say, I don't, but I can show you what I can do on video. At this point, I gather 2 friends at work. We go into the studio downstairs at the radio station. They help me record a demo of sorts. So this is me now pretending to read the news. A friend of mine, Dineo, is holding up the scripts. Because that's news at 7, babes. I'm not Kolokhrootboom. Can you imagine? I'm going for this. Eh? All the English that I learned at Castlebridge must come out. So we're there. Reynata, one colleague, is there with his camera. Everyone is taking it very seriously. I look at it now, my eyes are out of focus, but that's not the point. I send this thing back to Sally. How? Sally doesn't reply. It's been 2 weeks. Hey, bo, sis, you think I went to that effort for you to ignore me? Mail back. Hello, lady. About the job. When are you getting back to me? No, I have to show your email to some people in the building and get it back to you. Give it 2 more weeks. I mail back. I'm like, you and your friends. Have you decided? Because I need to be on this TV thing, because the goal is to be on TV by December of 2016. This needs to happen. Sally doesn't reply. Eventually, Sally replies, oh, they loved it. When can you start? Well, I'm in the foyer, dear, if you'd like me to start now. Off we go. I start training. I remember my first time on live television was the 16th of December, 2016. I'll never forget it. I bought myself, I was very proud of this, a cheap little jacket from Markham. I wore blue jeans and all stars. I was half the size that I am now. I know now I look like a gospel singer, but I was much smaller then. I was much smaller. Please, size 28, respect me. We do this thing, Sally and I go on on this TV thing. I do it. And it works out. But you see, For the people looking from the outside in, people who'd followed me from when I started doing overnights at 702, it all looked seamless. What people didn't see from that journey is the times when I'd have to mail my mother, who worked at a laundromat for 3,500 Rand a month, to help me pay rent, which was 2,500. So if she helped me pay that, it also meant she'd have to struggle. People didn't see the times when my mother would be up at 5:30 in the morning to knock on the neighbor's door and say, "Can you give us 30 Rand just so he can get to school?" At some point, neighbors were irritated with us. Neighbors would laugh. Neighbors would say, "Why is she keeping her child in a Model C school when ours are in township schools?" But the truth is, my mother did that because my mother is one of 8 children, dropped out of school in grade 9 because her parents could not afford to put all of them through school at once. So the one thing she had made clear was that I was going to get a degree, I was going to be a success at some point. I was never going to fall back into the cycle of poverty. So the first lesson from that story is sacrifice from both me and my mother, because we're working towards a dream. And parents, what I learned from my mother in those moments is even when you don't understand the child's dream, continue to support, continue to invest in it, because it will pay off. There's no greater feeling than feeling supported, even in moments of hardship, knowing that someone believes in this vision, that people don't think you're crazy. The second lesson, hard work. I gave up many weekend evenings on that overnight shift, where sometimes at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd sit in that booth about to read a bulletin, and I'm like, dear God, if this is not for me, can a light bulb drop from the ceiling so I know? But fine, so hard work. Service is important, guys. You're going to leave here as graduates, and I've seen it happen. Often you think you're a graduate, you think there are these things that are owed to you by the world, by the system. No, it's not. No one, after this, in the real world, no one is going to spare a moment to think about the day you graduated and what it took to get you there. So what you need to do is, no matter how small the opportunity, apply yourself. Give it your all. Journalism students, whether you are running around following reporters who are out on a story, if they say to you, go get me coffee, be the fastest person to get the coffee and come back. If you are reading the news at 2 a.m. on a radio station with 5 people listening, 3 of them security guards who have no choice, honey, read for them like it's the 7 o'clock news, like your life depends on it. Because it is only through that sort of service that you get recognized. It looks as though I've moved on very quickly. This all started in 2014. It looks as though it's been seamless, but had I not applied myself, had I not stayed away from family to work the Christmas shift where the senior people were away, I can assure you I would still be on the overnight shift, as many people still are. So you need to commit, serve, and the fourth one, be grateful. A lot of us walk into places of employment these days, and again, it comes back to, I'm accomplished. My thing I remember was, hey, Bo, I'm talented. Look, there are a few things I can't do, but I can read a script. I can convince you it can be the most boring news script, but I can read it. But when you remember how much you need to learn, you are grateful for all the gaps. So you also need to find people who you can align yourself with, like-minded people. Stay away from the people who tell you how difficult it is, but don't present a solution. You want to be with the dreamers, the kids who have their heads in the clouds, the ones who think they can change the world. That's who you need to fly with. And I'm speaking now in particular to those of us who come from poor backgrounds, where people you grew up with are either on some sort of substance, alcohol, or have given up and are now living a life of just selling fruit on a street corner, when you and I know a lot of those people have potential that should have taken them much further. Be kind to each other, University of the Free State. Life is tough. Many of you have suffered unspeakable trauma, growing up in the home with abuse and that sort of thing. Some of you were here on this campus when Fees Must Fall happened. You saw things that you should never have seen at a young age. And you may not speak about it, but it haunts you still. So be kind to people. Be patient. We come from a lot. From our pasts, we go through a lot, and some of us are only just learning to express the pain and manage it in other situations. So kindness is important. Be encouraging. When you see the other person next to you struggle, be there, be the voice. I've made incredible friends in broadcasting, people who, when I started, we formed friendships because these were the people who'd message after every bulletin and say, "Ooh, you did well. Slow down. Maybe write that this way. When you look into the camera, maybe do this with your eyes." It sounds like useless advice, but it is in that kindness that you meet people who change your life forever. Be fearless. That's the most important one. When I sent those emails, I wasn't guaranteed a positive response. But you know what? It is your dream, and you need to fight for it. And if you aren't brave and fearless for what you want, this academic team is not going to do it for you. Your wonderful parents can only walk you up to this far. From here, it is just you, and you need to fight. That is the reality. Some fights will look like you won't win, but you will. If you just keep going. If you lose the first round on Monday, be back there Tuesday. Show them what you're made of. And the last one, dream bigger. With every achievement, there's always something on the horizon. I know it looks as though I've made it. I have been on the biggest talk radio station in this country. I'm on the biggest music radio station, 947, in Johannesburg at the moment. I'm on the biggest news channel in this country. But there's always something else. And if you can keep thinking of the next thing, I can assure you, you'll look back at your journey and it'll scare even you. But as a parting shot, never be afraid to affirm and be proud of yourself. I know we're taught that you're not supposed to praise yourself. Nothing wrong with that. It's not arrogance. It only becomes arrogance when you put others down. There's nothing wrong with looking in the mirror and saying, "I am damn good at what I do." I am smart as hell, and there isn't a thing I can do except math. You don't want to see my results? We shan't mention that here. And love yourselves, guys. Most importantly, love yourself and know which opportunities are for you and what isn't for you. And as I leave here today, hearty congratulations to each and every one of you graduates. You have earned it, and you deserve to walk on every cloud. Even when it's difficult, look back at the pics of this day and say, girl, you were doing it here. They were shook. Parents, delight in this moment, for it is yours as well. And to the young ones, I've seen some of the younger siblings. I hope you've been able to draw some sort of inspiration from your elder siblings who've come before you and paid prices that some of you will never know. We all know stories of, in my case, my mother, who I'd wake up in the middle of the night and my future would keep her up at night because she was trying to make this thing happen, even though we didn't have the means. But again, University of the Free State, thank you. It has been an honor. I hope that I've managed to touch you in some way. If I've not touched you, the giggles are enough. And I hope to run into all of you out there someday. Thank you. Congratulations.